So welcome to our July multi-region meeting. We are now officially, I feel like it was yesterday that I said we were 7 months to go in the year. We are now officially halfway through the year, and it's not slowing down from what I can see. So what's great about halfway through the year is if you're not where you want to be, you've got a whole half a year to get where you want to be and then some. So I know that we've had some incredible success this first half of the year, and we're going to continue to have that success going forward. It really feels like, if any of you have read The Compound Effect, it's not like one person promotes and then another person promotes next month. It's like one person took the leap of faith at the beginning of the year, then two more, then three more, then five more, and hopefully by the end of the year we'll have more Benzes on the road and a lot more area managers and districts and new people joining the team. So that's what we're looking for, and I know that's what we're capable of doing. So with that being said, I wanted to just review quickly our June results. As a multi-region, definitely not our strongest month, probably one of our weaker months actually from a numbers perspective. But what I was saying on my Saturday or Sunday morning call was just even though the numbers were what the numbers were, there was a lot of heart and a lot of commitment and a lot of like eye-opening opportunities and people seeing things for themselves that they hadn't seen before. And, so no doubt the momentum is being continued to be built on. And I think that there's always the calm before the storm. And I was saying to my sister, sometimes we have to have some valleys in the business in order to really appreciate the peaks. And that oftentimes when a larger part of the community is in the valley, it causes for a way bigger spike the next month because we're all kind of like, oh, that wasn't as best month that I had hoped for. I better get to work. And then, but everybody, not everybody, more people are having that same thought and that same feeling. So then we have this like combustion happen the next month. So I love where we're headed. I love where everybody's heads and hearts are at. I'm certainly grateful for where we ended up last month, and just know that we're headed in an even stronger direction. So if you had an amazing month, congratulations. And if you had a month where you were like, I could have done better, then amazing. Jump on the train because we're headed in a better direction. Want to congratulate the Picture This earners. That incentive, as a lot of you know, is structured to create your knowledge and understanding around the 2,500 new and you building block, and also obviously adding a consultant a month. You'll notice that the incentive all in the bag is exactly the same structure for the month of July. So head office is giving us a message. Learn how to create 2,500 QV building block new and you by adding and sponsoring new consultants. And you will be rewarded. And eventually, if we duplicate that 2,500 new and you throughout our entire organization, our ability to scale our businesses will just become easier and easier. So congratulations to the Picture This incentive earners. And what I'd really like to get an idea of is how many of you thought, oh man, I don't think I'm going to be able to make that incentive work. And then that was the result. And then saw the one that came out this month and was like, well, like I didn't get the one last month, so I'm getting the one this month, right? And I want you to just pay attention to your conversation that you had about the Picture This incentive. And if it was anything like, I have no idea how I would earn this incentive because I don't, I'm not talking to anybody that wants to join my business at this time. Just consider that conversation led the results for the month. And then the ones who said, I'm earning this hands down and earned it, that's the conversation that led the results for this month. So choose which one you want for next month. I'm going to recommend the second conversation for yourself. And my sister has just decided what her incentive is going to be for the earners. And it's going to be an instructed yoga in the park evening or afternoon, whichever is convenient for everybody. She's going to hire a yoga instructor, and we're going to have a night or an afternoon yoga in the park with our green bags and the excitement of new consultants and fabulous personal QV, right? And I just want to talk to you a little bit about what I did differently this month, which is my training, which is around follow-up, that helped me create the results for the Picture This incentive. So I have shared this with some of my directs before, that I'm very last minute when it comes to serving my preferred clients. I use my preferred client base as the last resort to generate QV in the month. And I'm not suggesting you do that. That is just something that I have not really focused on in my business. And what I'm realizing through taking these challenges on with the 2,500 QV, new and new QV, is it has to be a combination of PCs and ICs in order to achieve that number. So the first thing I did this month was I exported all of my PCs out of my reports. And I'm not going to tell you how to do that today, but I will tell your VPs how to do that if they don't know how, and then they can tell you. It's very simple. And I put them into a spreadsheet, and I reached out to each and every one of them halfway through the month. My mom just said I'm freezing. Am I freezing for you guys or no? No? Okay. It's probably her and I, because we're in the same house. So I exported them, and I followed up with them, and I had their name, the order that they placed, the QV that they placed, and a notes column beside it. And in the notes I wrote out when I reached out to them during the month, and then if I heard back from them, what that was, and if they ordered, what they ordered and how much QV. And interestingly enough, I had to follow up with people at least one or two additional touches with the Jump on June special to just say, did you get my message? Did you not get my message? And out of my, I think it was 35 PCs that I have, 7 ordered. So that's the most number of PC reorders, and I actually, in that 7, I added a new PC this month. So that was really a different approach for me. And I'm going to take the exact same approach into my next month. And, Natalie gave some tips about sending out a thank you card with a fizz stick and a tea bag. And I'm definitely going to do that for the people that ordered this month, so that I have a conversation to be able to have with them next month. So that approach with PCs is the exact same approach I have taken with my ICs from a follow-up perspective, my entire business. Every person I think about or I talk to about the business, I have in a spreadsheet, and I have what they've said, when they've said it, and what my next follow-up step is. And I revisit that spreadsheet at least 3 times a week when I'm doing my reach outs. And I don't revisit it every day, because I go to it every day by adding new people I've reached out to, but I don't go through it and filter it every day. I do it about 3 times a week, and I make sure that I'm staying on top of the follow-up notes that I have. Now, if we had the CRM that they talked about at GTC available to us, we will get to go away, do away with these spreadsheets. But for now, what I've realized is that my memory does not serve me to try and remember who I've spoken to, when I've spoken to them. And most times when I've depended on my memory, it's failed me, and I've lost opportunities. So I just really wanted you to hear from me that when I got into a consistent routine about following up with ICs, it created a difference in my business. And then just last month, taking that same approach with my PCs made a massive difference for me achieving that pitch or this incentive. So following up seems like such a simple part of our business, but I genuinely believe it's one of the easiest things not to do and one of the biggest areas of opportunities for us to close in on to capture more results. I'm going to leave the follow-up conversation just like that because it's very simple. I don't want to overcomplicate it. Make sure my message is have a system. If it's not spreadsheets, it's handwritten, it's voice recorded, it's whatever. Have a system and ask your VP if they think that system works, is good, or if they could see anything that they could help you with that system. Okay. I have a business coach and she has helped me design this follow-up system. So, I'm confident that I'm doing something that's really working for me. So it's always good to check in with somebody. Make sure you have the right system in place. The last thing I want to talk about before I pass it on to Carrie and Nat is my sister sent a text message picture of a strategy that some of the NVPs in the United States have been doing and have actually said they've gone nation by doing it. And it's called, I think some of you have heard of this, but it's called the Arbonne 30 for 30 strategy. And it's genuinely putting the business opportunity in front of 30 people in 30 days. And it doesn't have to look like one a day, but it does have to look like 30 people over the 30 days. And there is a whole process on how to actually put that into effect. And I'm going to post it on our page after this meeting. And it gives scripts about what to say to people. It says send out 100 text messages all saying this and see how many you get back. And it's so short and succinct and really to the point. And you're going to get, a lot of people that don't respond, a lot of people that say no, but you are for sure going to return a percentage that say yes. And the key is to try and get 30 people of those 100 people to say, yes, I'd be willing to either introduce you to somebody, I'd be willing to hear about it, I'd be willing to read about it. And then it breaks down asking for the commitment on a scale of 1 to 5. And if the person's between a 1 and a 3, then you would go the product route. If the person's between a 3 and a 5, you would go, what more information do you need, or let's get you signed up. And I want you also to, once I post that, please write down in the notes who's in on this incentive for the 30 for 30. And maybe we'll, come up with something really cool for the people that actually did reach 30 people in 30 days. I want you to know that that's a big stretch. It's a big goal. It scares me a little bit, but I'm going to take it on for sure. And I'm sure the other VPs will do this as well with me. And hopefully the rest of you will join and lead your teams in doing that. So watch after this meeting for that post, and then state that you're in, for the challenge. Okay? All right. I'm excited about it. So that's all I am going to say. And I'm going to pass it over to Carrie and Nat, whichever one of you wants to go first.
I can go.
Okay.
So my thoughts around, we actually had a little quick brainstorm between us to say, okay, what are some really key business building tips that we can share as we're all kind of leading up to what are the summer months, but are also now the 2 springboard months before we get to CNTC. So amazing tips from Christy there on follow-ups, how to really work our PCs the same way we work our ICs. And as I was thinking about it, I really wanted us to talk about consistent activity, especially as the summer months are coming. But in general, this business is built in the moments that we don't want to. Our body's really easy when we're motivated and excited and we're pumped up, which is great, but that isn't how life always goes for us. And so we've heard people talk about consistent activity many a time, but I want us to think about it a little bit differently this evening. So for sure we have our plan. We all set out and we say we're going to do our 3 reach outs, we're going to do our 30 Zooms, we're going to do our 8 events, and that's amazing. Those plans are so critical so that we know what actions and activities we should be taking. And then life happens, basically. So we go along for a little bit, and then life happens, and we get thrown some curveballs, usually important things like families, jobs, friends, summer, things that can take us off course. And we've probably heard before, I know there's a couple of new people on the call, but building an Arbonne business doesn't require 100% of your time, but it does require consistent activity throughout our business. And so success comes from who we choose to be in the moments where life is actually throwing us that curveball. So one of my favorite things about this business is who I get to be in those moments, because there are many, many, many moments where it's not the most convenient thing for me to stick to my plan. It's not the most easy thing for me to turn off the thoughts and the voices that are in my head that sometimes are just plain old saying, I would rather stay home. I would rather watch, something else or do something else than build my Arbonne business. And while that's always going to be there, what I am most proud of as I look back on my journey is who I am in those moments anyway. There's a running joke between my husband and I. When I leave the house for an Arbonne event or for something to do with my business, he always says, is there anything you need? And I always say, for tonight to be over. And I mean it genuinely, because what I want is to stay home. I want to he's there with my son, and they're doing whatever they're doing, and I'm with my makeup case or my bag, and I'm leaving to do whatever it is that my business requires. And not always am I so excited about that. And then I typically say, just so you know, I really don't wanna. And he says, I know you don't, and I'm proud of you for doing it anyway. And it's literally almost every single time, which doesn't sound like the most empowering place to stand, but in fact it is, because the truth of the matter is sometimes I don't want to. Sometimes I don't want to answer the phone. I don't want to do my reach outs. But I know that if I take that consistent activity and I take that consistent action, as we've been told by so many leaders in this business, especially when I don't want to, is the only way my business can ever work. So what I don't want more is to, work 70 hours a week, is to miss all of those important moments with, my family, to, all of the things that I choose this business for. I don't want that more. And so I stick to my plan. And when you do that, you actually feel bigger and more proud and more likely to continue to take action. And so consistent activity is, for sure, we know what income producing activity is. It's our events, it's our one-on-ones, it's our Zooms. It's critical, but it's the most critical in those moments when those thoughts and those feelings are creeping up, to know that that is where NVPs are made. I don't care if it's your first day being a consultant or you're an ERVP ready to kind of go nation. ENVPs are made in those moments, those decisions when we really are faced with life or faced with thoughts and feelings about what we would rather be doing. And so that's the one area of consistent activity. And then the second that I wanted to just touch on is we can stop taking consistent action sometimes if we aren't seeing instant results. So we can think that we're doing everything, we're following our plan, we're running along with our system or whatever it is that we're choosing to be our modes of income producing activity. But we look around kind of day after day, week after week, sometimes even after a month, and nothing that we think represents success is starting to blossom. And so we start to get thoughts like, this isn't working, or I need to change and do something else. And so we create a new plan, and then we leave that plan, and now we're doing another thing. But the truth of the matter is, and I heard this, I think in an audio, just this little one-liner that said, some months in Arbonne are harvest months, and some months in Arbonne are planting and watering months. And so we need to expect some planting, seed planting and watering months. In fact, they're the most important months. So if you were a farmer and you plant your seeds and you go out and you water them for a few days and you don't see your field full of crop, I'm not a farmer, clearly, whatever it's supposed to be growing, you don't say, my farm doesn't work, I'm either going to sell it, or maybe I'm going to dig these ones up and I'm going to plant something else, or I'm going to do something else. It's an expected part of the process. And so if we just keep that consistent activity, keep going out, the farmer, he keeps going out and watering and weeding, I don't know what else he does, whatever he does all day before the crop comes, he knows the crop will come. So when our leaders are telling us that no matter what, if we take consistent activity, day after day, week after week, month after month, and never quit, never stop doing that, that harvest will come. The same way a seed is designed, that if you water it, it has to turn into something. And so don't allow the scoreboard or what you see in your field be the thing to determine whether you're going to keep taking those consistent actions, or worse, how you feel about the actions that you're taking. We know what the actions are. If we take them consistently, it will work hands down, no matter what. And so that's really all I wanted to say, though, just because we wanted to keep it quick and short. But those two key areas is that you will be a success. All you need to do, no matter what, is manage your thoughts and feelings. Do it anyway, because you're going to have those thoughts and feelings no matter what. When they come up, be like, oh my gosh, these are those moments. This is a moment I can be proud of myself for walking out the door anyway. This is a moment I should look back on in a couple of years and be like, atta girl. That's when you picked up the phone, or you sent your 100 texts, or you did whatever there was to do. So do it anyway in those moments, because that's when you get to feel like, I'm doing it. I'm going to be an MVP. I know that I'm going to get to the top of this company. And then second, no matter what the scoreboard says today or any time, don't let that be your guide. Your guide is, am I taking consistent activity? That's all you need to worry about. Some will be seeding and planting, most critical months, or seeding and planting and watering, and some will be harvesting, and those will feel amazing, but feel just as amazing about your planting and watering. So consistency. The best and biggest thing to be proud of in this business, I believe, no matter what it looks like. That's it for me.
Good. Thanks, Carrie. Awesome message. And it is in those moments or those months where you're like, oh, I can't see the results of all the work that I'm doing, that you actually have to just stick with it, because it is coming 100%. And very, very appropriate topic for where we're at right now. What a brilliant seeding, planting, and watering month June was for what July is going to bring us. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Nat, you're up.
Okay, doke. So it's actually a perfect segue into what I'm sharing about, which is taking action now. So a lot of, like everything in all Arbonne trainings, there's a lot of overlap because it really isn't that complicated. It's a really simple business. So without further ado, I love the example of the gardening, Carrie, because I actually am clueless about gardening. I was like right there with you. So I love this quote, and it actually applies perfectly to what I'm going to share. So no idea works unless you do. So in Arbonne, like, we all acknowledge that Arbonne is the greatest idea, but it will not work unless you do the work. And Carrie essentially has just sort of, enlightened us on that portion of it. And I think so often in this business, we get caught up in thinking about Arbonne more than we actually are doing Arbonne. Because Arbonne really, takes, 30 seconds to send a message. Maybe for 100 text messages, it might take a little bit more. But it doesn't take a lot of time, but we are constantly always thinking about it. And that's because you tend to be more in your head rather than actually in momentum and movement. And it's the momentum and movement that create energy, which create amazing things to come into our lives all the time. So how do you get out of your head and into movement? And I know that we've actually shared, a lot of leaders have shared about this awesome book called The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. If you haven't read it or listened to it, the audiobook is actually spectacular. If you haven't, like number one thing to do tomorrow or tonight is to do that. And if you already have read it or heard it, do it again, because it's that impactful. I feel like I could listen to her all the time and that just like keep it on repeat all the time. Essentially, the basic premise behind what her message is that it takes 5 seconds to literally change the course of your life. And she likens it, I'm going to do a small synopsis here, but she likens it to a rocket ship taking off. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off, right? And in those 5 seconds, your brain has no other option than to do something different after we count down. We don't count up because you could just count into infinity, that's the better word. But by counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, there's actually a change that happens in the brain and you are forced essentially into action. So when we look at Arbonne, so, we're driving along and we're like, oh my gosh, that babysitter that I had however many years ago, she would be amazing for Arbonne. Oh, you know what? I'm driving right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, send yourself a voice message to message her the next day or later when you stop driving, right? So that's basically what we want to do. We have that idea. And before we can tell ourselves or talk ourselves out of doing it, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, text sent, over, moving on. And let me see where my notes are. So, when you're looking at your business, think about how often you actually talk yourself out of doing something. And you know what, guys, like up until just recently, by implementing this whole system and the other system that I did the video on last week, I was doing it all the time. And I actually didn't realize it until I was forcing myself to count down. And all of a sudden I'm like counting down 100 times a day. I'm like, wow, I really like put things off all the time. So just start to pay attention to when you allow yourself to take the enthusiasm of that idea off the burner, flip it around immediately. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it. And then this one, this kind of gets a little bit deeper into the 5-second rule. And so after this call, this is a little bit of an actionable step. So right after this call, take the opportunity to write 10 things that you know will happen in your life when you achieve your next goal in business. So they're likely going to look like, it's, in relation to a promotion level. It could be the top of the company promotion level. It could be the next promotion level, but write 10 things down that you know will happen when you achieve that. And they're going to look like whys, right? It's going to look like freedom, flexibility, financial health, balance, all of the events, vacations, all of those lovely things. And when you look at all of those things, spend a few moments and focus on how those things and having those things and what that will feel like, what that will look like in your life, and how that will feel in your heart. And you'll probably end up being able to come up with a word or a phrase that can solidify or kind of, put all of those words together in one. So for me right now, it's Maui, magical Maui. So when you get into that really difficult spot where you're about to just say, no, I'm just going to leave it for 3 more days, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, magical Maui, or whatever your power word is, right? Because what that does, rather than saying blast off and like, let's go get it or whatever, it allows you to succinctly pull together all of your whys in one little phrase, in one little word that allows you to do the stuff that you're willing to not do, right? And Carrie just talked about how it's so important to take the moment to do the things that you really don't want to do. So the other thing that I obviously shared about on that video was being able to take time every single day. And how beautiful is it to have that time to focus on your business and what you can do along the way, because let's be honest, we're busy people. We're in vehicles all the time. We're in meetings. I can have an idea about what I can do in my business during a meeting, and I can't obviously stop. You know what? Hold on for a second while I text the next person I'm going to talk to, right? So the thing is, you can write those things down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, write the person's name down, because chances are we're so busy that we're going to forget those things. So what ends up happening by the end of the day, either you have voice notes or messages or notes in your phone, you can then, if you have a focused time every single day where you can take a half an hour or an hour to then do all of the things you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in a list. Okay, so that's like really taking the opportunity to I acknowledge that we're so busy that we're not able to be able to action on every single thing. But if we're taking the opportunity to write those things down and then taking that time to be focused, like magical things will happen. So as I said last week, just to share a little bit more, last week when I did that video, I actually had 3 confirmed one-on-ones, 2 extra one-on-ones that were coming in. I now have 10 one-on-ones in the next 2 weeks. I added another 2 just because I've focused. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I have a list. I'm actually treating my business, you guys, as like a really important business. And I can't say that I've never not done that before. I know it's shocking. I've done that at times in my business, and those times that I've done it, I've actually been successful and promoted to the next level. But somewhere along the line, we're like, oh, that couldn't have been the reason why I was successful. It absolutely is. So I really, really encourage you guys to take that action every single time you want to, because as soon as you treat this business as important as it actually is, and as the amazing idea that it is, all of a sudden it will start to work in ways that you never dreamed that it could possibly work, which is pretty spectacular. All done.
So good. That is amazing. Thank you for those tips. I am going to implement each and every one of them. As we're talking about this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I get anxious at the thought of like already this 30 for 30 and how many people I'm going to have to reach out to. And I'm already having conversations of, well, I'm probably not going to text that person because I've already texted that person. Like, so guys, I just want you to know that those conversations that Carrie talked about, the talking yourself out of it that Natalie talked about, happens always in this business. It doesn't matter if you're an ERVP on your way to MVP, or you're an ENVP 4-wide, or you're a brand new consultant. Trust that you are going to continue to have these self-limiting beliefs, these conversations that don't get you out of your own way, and that this advice that we've had tonight is short, sweet, spectacular. Rewatch this video because there were so many good nuggets in it, and implement it in your business starting tonight. I love the idea of 10 things. I love the idea of a magical word. That definitely resonates with me. So thank you for all of that, those little nuggets you just put in there, Nat. So great.
Yay.
I want to give Carrie an opportunity to acknowledge somebody very, very special on the call. Care, go for it. And if there's anybody else on the call, or that anybody else has to acknowledge, please just put your hand up or send a message in the chat. I don't want to miss out on anyone.
Okay, I will go first, obviously, maybe the only one. But many of you have seen me post about the wonderful and talented Miss Jennifer Nagel, who just promoted to area manager the 1st of this month. And there's so much. I could literally take the next 20 minutes and talk about how Jen has, since the beginning, jumped into this business and rocked it. Like, her personal business has just been constantly hitting her numbers, constantly working, constantly, basically what I just shared about tonight is no matter what those conversations are, still showing up every single month. And the truth of the matter is if you do that, it has to end up here. Even though it didn't, like, for a long time, didn't look like it was coming, it always comes. And so I am so proud and so inspired to have witnessed someone who just keeps doing it every single month, until your business catches up with you. It just will catch up with you. And so, Jen, I absolutely congratulate you on how you've rocked this business. And now all it is other people are coming and joining you, and they're watching you, and they're doing the same thing. So you have kind of set the bar of what it looks like to work your personal business. And now people are just doing it alongside of you, and you absolutely, absolutely deserve this. And you said you were going to get it. So Jen, there was an extension of the area managers retreat. So when it was not the extension yet, Jen was like, oh, I'm going to get it. And obviously hadn't closed it up or hadn't even went into qual that same month. Anyway, then it got extended that we could go to the area manager retreat. And Jen was like, that is it. This is my sign from the universe. I am coming. And so it was. And so, yeah, I won't take up too much more time, but just like be really, really proud of your journey, because it's been super inspiring to witness and super inspiring to be a part of. I can't wait to celebrate with you next weekend.
So great, Jen. Have a few words for the team.
Yeah, guys, thank you. I mean, I absolutely, we talk about personal business, but really I still consider this such a team, and don't know where I would be without all the wise words from everyone. Carrie obviously is key, Christy, like just everyone. But there is definitely all the great tips tonight are resonating. I'm someone who kind of needed that push. It's not quite Maui for me, but for me it was the area retreat. So the second that extension happened, I was like, that is it. Like, I'm not letting myself off the hook anymore. It's just gonna happen. So yeah, I was sharing on the call yesterday, on I guess Sunday, Christy's call. I think I also attribute it to doing some stuff that I never thought I would do, including rappelling down the side of this crazy building and freezing in the middle of it. I was so panicked and frozen. I was like, I'm stuck on the side of this building, but I'm going to this area of retreat. Somehow I'm going to get sales from this. And it actually ended up happening the last night. I got this big event booked. So just doing stuff out of my comfort zone. Arbonne is one of them for sure, but it's team. So thanks, everyone.
So good. You're such a rock star. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up. I just want to say one last thing. Decide where you want to be at CNTC in your business. Decide what promotion management level you want to be, in qual for or achieving and be recognized for at CNTC. As Carrie said, these are the 2 leverage months for CNTC. So July and August, give it all that you have, and walk into that conference with a different management level on your tag than you did at GTC, or whatever inspires you. Okay.
Sorry. I sent you a note. I wanted to acknowledge Jen Olson.
Oh, I'm sorry, honey.
That's okay. Well, not for, a specific management level, but really I just want to acknowledge Jen for and I even want to cry, for coming back from literally doing nothing, and not in a negative way, but really having a baby and choosing not to do something, and then really coming into this business and choosing it. And I sometimes I think, where'd she come from? What is this? And she's a force to be reckoned with. And it's just so inspiring. And she has brought on this new consultant, Kim, who is a super firecracker and literally has lit a fire under our ass. So we have to go even faster, because this girl is coming up the rear, already has another consultant. So she has 2 brand new consultants, had an amazing party yesterday, 1,200 QV in, it's just so, I don't even have the words. I'm so proud. I'm so inspired myself. And, you are just the most amazing human I could possibly imagine doing business with. And I just want to acknowledge you.
Oh, thanks, Erin. So special. And Jen, you know how I feel. You really are a trailblazer, and we're so glad to have you back, and back with the vengeance. I love it. Okay, was there anybody else that wanted to acknowledge a promotion? No? Jen, you rock. Awesome. Okay, guys, thank you so much for getting on this call on Monday night of the long weekend. That's commitment beyond commitment, and I really, really appreciate it. Let's get this week going tomorrow and this month going, and I'll see a bunch of you next weekend. And we have a Barrie DA tomorrow, if you haven't seen that already. And then the Thompson DAs start next Monday. So we'll see all of you as soon as we can, okay? Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.